The clink of silverware and soft murmur of elegant conversation filled the restaurant's polished air. It was the kind of place where the rich came to escape reality, a place where everything sparkled, from the wine glasses to the watch faces. But in the far corner of the room, something very real was happening. A woman in her early 40s sat alone at a corner table, draped in a designer shawl, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she scrolled her phone with a manicured finger. Her name was Veronica Blake, billionaire, business mogul, philanthropist by title. But beneath it all, tired, disconnected, and, if she was honest, a little hollow. Across from her sat her daughter, Chloe, 12 years old, bright eyes, bound to a wheelchair. She was born with cerebral palsy. Her body limited, her mind razor-sharp. But you wouldn't know that from the way most people looked at her, as if she was fragile, broken, or invisible. Veronica loved her daughter deeply, but hadn't shown it lately. Too many meetings, too much guilt, not enough presence. A young waiter, early 20s, shirt slightly wrinkled, kindness radiating from his face, approached the table. His name was Leo. He wasn't supposed to be working this shift. He'd picked it up to cover his rent. Tired, underpaid, and unnoticed until now. "Hi there," he said gently to Chloe, lowering himself to eye level instead of speaking over her. "Would you like me to help cut your food?" Veronica looked up, startled. Most waiters never addressed her daughter. Leo didn't wait for her approval. He waited for Chloe's. Chloe beamed. "Yes, please." As Leo began carefully preparing her meal, a hush fell over Veronica. She watched the way he moved, the way her daughter responded, giggling, smiling, alive. It was the most animated she'd been in weeks. Something about it pierced through Veronica's cold, tired shell. She couldn't stop watching, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't want to. Veronica set her phone down without realizing it. That alone felt foreign. For years, her life had revolved around screens, notifications, meetings she could barely remember, and deals she could barely care about anymore. But now this, watching her daughter light up because a stranger chose kindness, felt heavier, realer, like something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in far too long. Leo wasn't in a rush. He made sure Chloe could hold her fork, adjusted her napkin gently, and even cracked a silly joke about mystery soup that made her burst into giggles. Veronica blinked. Her daughter hadn't laughed like that in months. Other tables had begun to notice. A couple glanced over, slightly confused. A man in a tailored suit raised a brow, unimpressed by what he likely saw as unprofessional. But Leo didn't notice. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. He was too focused on treating Chloe like she mattered. Veronica leaned back slowly, watching this boy, this total stranger, connect with her daughter in a way she hadn't been able to. And instead of jealousy, what she felt was shame. Quiet, unspoken shame, followed by something even deeper, curiosity. Who was this young man? Why did this small gesture feel more powerful than any $1 million donation she'd made in the last year? Leo looked up briefly, caught Veronica's gaze, and gave her a polite nod. Not trying to impress, not fishing for attention, just acknowledging that he saw her, really saw her. Leo checked in often, but not in the typical robotic "is everything all right with your meal?" way. He made eye contact. He addressed Chloe directly every time. When she hesitated, he waited. When she smiled, he smiled back. It wasn't just service, it was care. Veronica sat back and watched her daughter come alive, answering questions, telling him, of all things, about her favorite book series and the dog she wanted but never got. She was animated, expressive, and for once, someone listened like she was the most important person in the room. Veronica's throat tightened, and she reached for her wine, trying to mask the emotion climbing inside her. This wasn't how this lunch was supposed to go. It was supposed to be another forgettable outing before the next business call. But here they were, staying longer than they ever had, and not because of the food. Chloe's hand trembled slightly while trying to cut her dessert, and without a word, Leo stepped in again. He steadied her plate, not pitying her, not overstepping, just being there. "You're really good at this," Chloe said softly, looking up at him. Leo chuckled. "Thanks. I've got a little sister who has trouble with motor control too. We practice together a lot." Chloe lit up. "Really?" Veronica's head tilted. That explained his ease. His patience wasn't learned in training, it came from experience. Real-life compassion. That kind of empathy couldn't be faked. Leo smiled. "She's a year younger than you. Loves chocolate cake. Hates homework." Chloe laughed. "Same." Veronica didn't say much. She didn't need to. Her mind was racing with questions she didn't expect to be asking herself. About the people she usually overlooked, about the people who quietly made the world kinder, and about how much she'd missed by being busy, by being afraid, by hiding behind wealth. Eventually, the check arrived. Veronica didn't glance at it. She simply pulled out her card, but paused before handing it over. "What's your name again?" she asked gently. Leo smiled. "Leo." Veronica stared at him for a second longer than necessary. "Thank you, Leo, for being kind to her, for not looking through her like everyone else does." He didn't gloat. He just nodded. "She's pretty great. Deserves to be seen." Veronica exhaled softly. That line would stay with her for the rest of the day. Maybe longer. As he walked away to process the card, Chloe leaned toward her mother. "He's my favorite waiter ever." Veronica smiled, but it was different this time. Softer, sadder, a little more real. "Mine too," she said quietly. As Veronica helped her daughter gather her things, she kept glancing toward the kitchen. Leo had disappeared behind the swinging doors, and for a moment, she felt something unusual, like she wanted to say more, like she hadn't done enough. Chloe tugged her sleeve. "Can we come here again?" Veronica nodded slowly. "Yes, we can." But inside, she wasn't just thinking about the food or the ambience. She was thinking about Leo, about his calm patience, the way he met Chloe's eyes, and how he moved through the room like someone carrying more than trays and plates. She could tell he had weight on his shoulders, but he never let it fall on anyone else. Outside the restaurant, the driver opened the car door. Veronica hesitated. "1 second," she said, and turned back. She walked back through the restaurant, ignoring the surprised stares. She found the manager by the bar. "That young man, Leo. I'd like to know more about him." The manager blinked. "Leo? He's new. Just started a few weeks ago. Quiet. Picks up extra shifts. Good kid." Veronica raised a brow. "Does he need help?" The manager shrugged. "I think he's supporting his mom and little sister. Doesn't talk much. But he's ready every time I post an open slot for an extra shift." Veronica nodded slowly. "Thank you." Back in the car, Chloe looked up. "What were you doing?" Veronica looked out the window. "Just making sure I didn't miss something important." The next morning, Leo was up at 5:30 a.m. again. He brewed coffee in a chipped mug, rubbed the sleep out of his eyes, and listened to his little sister humming in the other room. Their mother was still asleep, her medication finally letting her rest. Leo tiptoed into the kitchen, grabbed his apron, and scanned the fridge. Empty. Again. He sighed, slipped a few bills from a near-empty envelope marked rent, and stuffed them in his back pocket. He'd figure it out. He always did. But this time it felt harder. At the restaurant, the day was quiet. The breakfast rush had come and gone. Leo moved like clockwork, wiping tables, stacking menus, clearing plates. No one noticed him, until someone did. Veronica Blake walked through the doors just after noon. No assistant. No chauffeur. Just her. And Chloe. Leo blinked. "Back so soon?" Chloe beamed. "We were hungry." Veronica smiled faintly. "And curious." They took the same table, and Leo approached with a fresh glass of water and something else. Confusion. Billionaires didn't repeat visits. They especially didn't come back for waiters. I hope you don't mind, Veronica said quietly. I wanted to ask you something. Leo nodded, cautious. Yesterday, you were kind to Chloe, but it felt like more than that. Like you've known what it means to be overlooked. Leo's guard stayed up. It's not hard to notice what people try to ignore. She watched him carefully. Your sister. How old is she? 11. And your mother? Leo hesitated. Sick. Lupus. Most days are rough. I'm all they've got. Veronica nodded slowly. She didn't pry. She didn't need to. It was written in the lines beneath his eyes, in the way he carried himself, steady but tired. You're doing everything for them, she said. He nodded. Trying. But some days, trying doesn't stretch far enough. Veronica didn't speak. Instead, she looked at Chloe, now carefully coloring on the restaurant kids menu. Leo, she said softly, what would you do if you didn't have to worry about rent tomorrow? Leo blinked. Excuse me? If, just for 1 second, the pressure let go of your shoulders, what would you do? He didn't answer right away. The question stunned him. I'd build something, he said finally. Something that helps kids like my sister, like Chloe. Something that tells them they matter. Veronica's eyes misted. And what if someone gave you that chance? Leo laughed softly. Not in amusement, but disbelief. People like me don't get those kinds of chances. Veronica leaned in slightly. They don't. Not usually. But maybe. Today's different. Leo's brow furrowed. Why me? Veronica glanced down at Chloe, then back at him. Because in a world that runs on money and power, you reminded me what humanity looks like. You showed more grace in one gesture than I've seen in years of boardroom deals. Leo looked away, unsure how to respond. His whole life had been about surviving, not hoping. Veronica continued, her voice firm now. I want to offer you something. Not charity. Not a handout. A real chance. A fully funded opportunity to build what you just described. And mentorship. Resources. People who can help bring it to life. Leo sat back in his chair, stunned. You're serious? She nodded. I never make promises I don't intend to keep. Chloe leaned forward with a big smile. Do it, Leo. You said you'd help kids like me. You can do it. Leo looked at them both. This billionaire he thought he'd never see again, and this little girl who somehow believed in him without hesitation. His hands trembled. I don't even know where to start. Veronica smiled gently. You just did. In that moment, something changed. Leo didn't feel small anymore. He didn't feel like just a waiter. He felt seen, empowered, chosen. Veronica took a business card from her purse, scribbled a private number on the back, and slid it across the table. Call this. Tonight. I'll handle the rest. As she and Chloe stood to leave, Chloe reached out and gave Leo a tight squeeze around the waist. You're gonna be awesome. He crouched down to her level. Only because you believed in me first. The car ride home was silent, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Chloe gazed out the window, humming to herself, and Veronica sat beside her. Fingers wrapped around the business card she just handed Leo. She didn't speak until they pulled into the long, gated driveway of their estate. Mom, Chloe said suddenly. Why'd you help him? Veronica looked at her daughter, the one person she'd always loved but rarely let in. Because once, someone helped me, and I've never told anyone. That night, after Chloe went to sleep, Veronica stood in her walk-in closet, surrounded by rows of shoes and silk and status symbols. None of it made her feel whole. She pulled out an old wooden box from the back of a drawer. Inside were faded photos, a young girl with tangled curls, a rusted trailer in the background, her mother worn and smiling despite the stress, her father gone too soon. Veronica had clawed her way from poverty to power, but she'd lost pieces of herself on the climb. Her voice played in her head. Never go back, never need anyone, never look weak. But tonight, Tonight that voice felt like a lie. Back when she was 14, a kind teacher named Mr. Dawson gave her a used laptop from the school's donation drive. "You've got potential," he'd told her. "You just need someone to see it." That laptop became her lifeline, her escape, her first taste of coding. It was the reason she built her first app, sold her first company, became the woman she was today. But in chasing success, she'd buried that girl. The one who knew what it felt like to be overlooked. Until Chloe's laughter made her remember. The next morning, Veronica didn't go to work. She canceled her meetings, turned off her phone, and sat at the kitchen table. Just her and a blank sheet of paper. She wrote 2 letters. One was for Leo. "Dear Leo, you reminded me that real kindness still exists. Not the kind bought or sold, but the kind that lives quietly in people who carry weight without complaint. You reminded me of the version of myself I left behind. This gift is not repayment. It's a beginning. Build the thing that matters. And when you're ready, I'll be there to help guide it. No strings. Just belief." She folded it, slipped a check inside, and sealed the envelope. The second letter was for her own team. A list of causes she wanted to fund. A mentorship program she wanted to start. A shift. Not in image, but in heart. Later that day, she picked up Chloe from therapy early. They stopped for ice cream, laughed, talked about silly things, felt small and sacred. "Mom," Chloe said between spoonfuls, "you're smiling more." Veronica nodded. "That's because I finally remember what it feels like." For the first time in years, she wasn't running from her past. She was walking back into it with open arms. Not to stay there, but to help someone else find their way out. Leo stood in his tiny kitchen, staring at the envelope in his hands. He'd found it taped to his locker at the end of his shift. No name, just Leo written in bold cursive. Inside was a note, and a check that made his knees nearly give out. He sat down slowly, heart racing, eyes wide. The amount was more than enough to cover his rent. It was enough to erase every debt, to pay for his mother's medication for a year, to put his sister in the school she'd been dreaming of. And yet, it wasn't just the money that shook him. It was the words. "This gift is not repayment. It's a beginning. Build the thing that matters." Leo looked over at his mother resting on the couch, a blanket tucked under her chin, and then at his sister, asleep in their shared room, a coloring book still open beside her. He hadn't cried in years, but tonight he did. The next morning, Leo called the number Veronica had written at the bottom of the letter. "This is Veronica," she answered, calm and composed as ever. He paused, unsure how to start. "Why me?" "Because I saw the person you are," she said gently. "And I believe the world needs more of you." For days, Leo barely slept. Not from stress this time, but from something new, hope. A fire had been lit inside him, and it wouldn't go out. He started sketching ideas on napkins, on envelopes, on the backs of receipts. A center for children with disabilities. A safe place where kids like Chloe and his sister could learn, laugh, and be seen for who they were, not what they lacked. Veronica connected him with a business mentor. She provided access to designers, grant writers, and nonprofit consultants. But she didn't do the work for him. She watched him lead. "You're not building this for them," she reminded him during a planning call. "You're building this with them. Let their voices shape the space." 6 months later, a modest but vibrant center opened in the heart of the city. There was no ribbon-cutting gala, no media frenzy, just children, parents, and staff, many of them volunteers, smiling like the world had shifted. Leo named it the Bloom Room, because, as he told Chloe on opening day, some flowers grow best in the cracks. You just have to give them a little sun. Veronica stood quietly in the back that day, her eyes on Chloe, laughing with other kids, wheeling herself around a ramp Leo had helped design. She felt something she hadn't in years. Peace. As the last family left the Bloom Room that day, Leo stayed behind to sweep the floor. Some habits, he figured, were worth keeping. Veronica joined him quietly, broom in hand. "You don't have to do that," he said with a grin. "I know," she replied. "But I want to." They worked in silence for a moment. Then Leo turned to her. "Why did you really come back that second day?" Veronica looked up. "Because I saw myself in you, before the world convinced me to become someone else." He nodded. That answer made sense in a way no one else could have explained. As they left together, Veronica placed a hand on his shoulder. "This isn't the end, Leo. This is where it begins." And she was right. The Bloom Room grew. It became a network, then a movement. Leo spoke at conferences, trained others. His story traveled farther than he ever had before. But through it all, he never forgot the day a billionaire sat at his table. Not to be served, but to see. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness becomes the spark that changes everything. Leo didn't know his life would change the day he helped Chloe. And Veronica didn't expect her heart to heal when she opened her eyes to someone else's struggle. But that's what happens when we slow down and really see each other. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that compassion still matters in this world, take a moment right now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more powerful stories like this one. And if you've ever been helped by someone's unexpected kindness, or offered it when no one was looking, share your story in the comments. Let's flood the world with reminders that good people still exist. Thanks for watching. And remember, a simple act of care can change more than one life. It can start a ripple that never ends.